Skylar and Plux, Adventure on Clover Island, is a new entry into the 3D buddy platformer genre that rose to fame during the PS2 era with series featuring two character names as the title. If you've ever played something like Ratchet & Clank or Jak and Daxter, you'll feel right at home with this new title from Grip Digital and Right Nice Games. Our adventure begins with Skylar, the silent protagonist, waking up in a laboratory, seemingly stripped of all of her memories and sporting a new robotic arm that has been fused to her body. It isn't long before she discovers that she's in the base of CTR, an evil monitor with a face that serves as the game's antagonist. Inevitable henchman incompetence leads to her escape and crash landing on Clover Island. It is here that she meets the second name in the game's title, Plux, a bird wearing a pilot's hat. Plux agrees to join you as a guide on the island so that he can search for his father, since he was too afraid to venture out on his own and his father had told him to wait for him where he was. The rest of the story revolves around exploring the island for 3 cores that must be obtained before CTR can find them and use them to fuel his planet-destroying device. Along the way, freeing the captured locals and rediscovering lost memories with the aid of the mechanical arm that is now speaking to you. The game was really easy to pick up and play as the controls are simple and responsive. All of the staples like double jumping, gliding, and swinging across gaps function in a manner that is both expected and appreciated. My only real complaint came from the combat, where there was a slight pause between attacks that would sometimes leave me vulnerable to incoming damage. However, it didn't take too long to get used to this and begin planning my attacks accordingly, in a way forcing me to be a bit more strategic than just mashing buttons. Before long, I was mixing spin attacks and dive bombs fluidly in order to avoid being a sitting duck. This brings us to a problem that cropped up a few too many times in the game. Things were often done well, but in not near enough of a quantity. Throughout the campaign, you will only run into a total of 4 different enemy types. That's it. Not even reskins of previous ones. There's only one boss fight, and that's the final one. It's a good battle that shows the developers are capable of creating a unique, pattern-based encounter with the right amount of challenge, but you don't get it until the end. With only 3 explorable zones outside of the main hub, it would not have required too much more effort to place an emphatic close to each chapter of the game by way of a boss fight. Challenge level was also fairly low. There were very few instances where I fell in battle or was stumped for very long on one of the unfortunately very few puzzles. There is no question that I enjoyed my time in the game. It was fun, but as an older gamer, I completed the adventure with the majority of the collectibles obtained in around 4 hours. This is more forgivable in that it is a budget release by way of digital distribution, though I still think the most value would be garnered from a younger audience or die-hard fan of the genre. That said, I am still tempted to dive back in and finish 100% of the collectibles. Swinging back to the theme of good but lacking, let's talk graphics. The first thing you will see upon booting up the game is a very stylized cutscene using a moving comic book presentation, and it looks awesome. Bold outlines and vibrant colors make everything pop off the screen. Once in the game proper, however, the bold outlines are gone entirely and the colors look washed out. It's not that they look bad, as it still carries the same charming creative design, but after the expectations are elevated with that opening, this is just kind of disappointing. In fact, there are a lot of contradictions with the graphics as a whole. NPCs look well designed and lovingly detailed, but every now and again, you'll just be kicked out of the feeling this world creates when you walk by a waterfall that seems entirely void of textures altogether. Are these complaints enough to ruin the experience? Not really, but they're just kind of hard to ignore. Another thing that's hard to ignore, though you wouldn't want to, is the constant taunting by CTR as you progress through the game. If you need a comparison and somehow didn't come to the conclusion yourself, think Handsome Jack from the Borderlands series. An evil tyrant bent on your destruction that is just as likely to insult his subordinates as he is to threaten you. He's a genuine source of comedic entertainment in the game, and I was always eager to hear what he would have to say as soon as his voice chimed in.
Welcome to CRT's Sandbox Funtime Land, Patent Pending. Out with the old, in with the new. That's what my pappy always said. Well, what he actually said was that I was useless, but yeah. I'll prove him.
A decision to purchase this game would root in an individual's consideration of price versus content. If it seems like I'm being a little bit harsh on the game, know that it is because I constantly found myself tempted to compare it to big budget AAA titles, and that is meant as a compliment. While this game would ultimately fall short in that bracket, there is a foundation here that could lead to some wonderful sequels if enough buzz and sales were generated. In this case, I'm rooting for the little guy.
Woo! This is it! I'm outie! Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy!
Hey, did you like that video? If you did, be sure to let us know by clicking the like button and leaving a comment. If you want to be first in line for any new content, be sure to subscribe to our channel and then hit up our Facebook page. The link's in the description below to see what's coming up next.